Yo, it's Wednesday. I know we got NBA playoffs, wrestling fans. We've got sports entertainment, or it's back to professional wrestling. Let me stop the mess with y'all. That's gonna be on. But guess what? You can watch all that later. You can hear about all that later. What's important is that you hear with your boys right now, right? Then talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So, busy off season, a lot of things popping. We have a lot of interviews that have happened over the last couple of days. We've got OTAs back in effect now. We've got some questions that we want to ask. Maybe give you a little sampling of maybe some guys that we feel like the Eagles should go ahead and slide through and grab at the draft. But before we get to any of that, there's someone y'all need to holler at real quick. Wyatt, what up, man?
What's going on, Cool? What's going on, Bird Gang Nation? I'm ready to talk about all the Eagles news. Draft is right around the corner, which means camp is right around the corner. You already talked about OTAs. So, I mean, it's like you can smell it in the air. Football is almost here, it feels like.
You already know. All right, so we got a couple of comments here. We got my man Benny Boom in the building. Benny, what up?
Bro,
Benny says 1 week away from the draft. Are you born ready? Born ready. Mm-hmm. Next week, you're going to want to tune in because we're going to bust down this draft. Today, we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of that, but we're going to talk about a lot of other stuff that happened today. But next week, days before the draft, we need to be here because that's what we're talking about. All right, and then Sam is in the building. Sam says, fly, Eagles, fly. What up, Sam?
You already know.
And then you know, Uncle Yak in the building. What up, Unc? So, yeah, man, it's time to dig into it. So, Wyatt, let's do it like this, man. Any specific pieces of Philadelphia Eagles news that you would like to go ahead and set things off with?
Well, I mean, there's one huge one which we'll get to, but I unfortunately I wasn't here last week. I'm not sure exactly what all y'all talked about. But one specific one I wanted to bring up was that the NFL changed their policy on helmets, and now they're allowing 3 different helmets in the game here now. So it's a possibility of not only using the Kelly green and our midnight green, but possibly bringing that nice like matte black type one back that we had a year or two ago. I don't think it was matte black, but it was like a shiny black. But it went with those midnight black uniforms, real slick. I loved them. So it'd be cool to have like all those helmets back, or bring in like a white alternate of the Kelly green as well if we want to bring the white ones in. Nah, you ain't about that one.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. I want the black back. I want the all black. I want to be dressed in all black. Murderers. I want to be murdering people in all black. You know what I'm saying? So one thing to quickly bring up since you're talking about the uniforms is there's a lot of talk about us not being able to wear our home uniforms in our first game in Brazil.
I heard about
because
yeah,
the stadium has banned the color. So everybody's all up in an uproar for what? Bring back the black and let's get it. That's all we gotta do.
Yeah, it's a night game.
If we can't have some green stripes, then that's a problem. But bring back the black. Like, we're gonna be some green stripes on the side of the black shorts. Y'all can deal with it, but we'll wear the black instead. Let's get it.
Right? It's a Monday night game, Friday night game, not even Monday night. Yeah. Friday night. Wear the black. Why not?
Bring back the black, baby. That's it. Like, to me, there's nothing else to discuss. We got the white, we got the Kelly green, and now we got the all black. If you want to if you want to bring a white Kelly green uniform, cool. Just use the Kelly green helmet. But that third helmet needs to be that black, so we can go all black again.
Absolutely.
Because you gotta be honest. As soon as they said they was gonna allow 3, I'm like, black is back. They gotta bring back the black. Anything besides the black is just disrespectful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, white wouldn't be bad if we didn't already have a white jersey that goes fine with a green helmet. So I don't see a need for for a white helmet. But that black.
Feel you. That black. It's gonna be nice. Hopefully they use them a little bit more too. Because I mean, we got like 2 Kelly green games, and we used to only get like 2 of the midnight black games. So hopefully they kind of sprinkle them a little bit more too.
Since we got 3, my hope is that we get at least 2 of each.
Yeah.
If we can get 2 of each, I'll be happy. We can get 4 games in them. I'd like 6, but I'll take 4 because I get You got your basics, and you probably got certain things you got to do, certain ways you got to swing, and certain things you got to have, because you know how it go, man. Somebody else is always making the decision on what you can and can't wear. You're not able to just make it yourself.
And they officially added the
right, so
the new word mark to the jerseys as well, which I'm not a huge fan of as of right now. It just doesn't look right. It's so weird.
I hate them. But it is what it is. But I hate it. I don't like it. So we'll hop into some of our prepared things, man. And obviously we might think of some other things. We got time at the end. We can always slide them in. So DeVonta Smith got an extension.
Yes, right? Sir. Smitty.
3 years, up to $75 million. But there's an important piece to that. He is also getting the 5th-year option. So we're getting him next year at $15 million, and then 25 for the 3 after that. And that 15 next year is fully guaranteed. That's why the extension goes through 2028, because it actually doesn't start until 2026. So it's going to be 2026, 2027, 2028. 2025 will be his 5th-year option that we're going to pick up. So how are we taking care of a guy that's been here? I love it. He touched on some things in his interview today that I'll speak on, but first I'll let you give your thoughts on your feelings on Smitty getting the extension.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it was coming. I think it's a great signing. It's definitely great to have your core group of players, especially in the offense, locked down for the foreseeable future. I mean, what we got was AJ, Hurts, Smitty, Saquon locked up till like 2026, 2027 now. It's a nice group to have. And I mean, you already locked Goedert down as well like a year or so ago. It's great. Smitty is an amazing player for us. He's easily could be that number 1 dude. We have 2 number 1 wide receivers on the squad now for the foreseeable future. And like we'll get to with his interview, it seems like he definitely wants to be here. He loves the city of Philadelphia. So, I mean, and Howie, he likes kind of pushing all that money to the back ends of these contracts as well. So it definitely helps save the money in those first couple of years, especially that 5th year, like you mentioned, and then a couple years after that, saving some dough as well. And I'm sure once it gets to like 2027, 2028, kind of make another contract to push it even farther back at that point, depending on what's going on within the organization at that time.
Yeah. For me, man, just it's great to see it locked up. And I mean, I hate to bring this up because I know it's a sore space for people, but these are some of the reasons why we had to get rid of Reddick, man. Right? Because that money was able to be absorbed into this money that we can now use for Smitty. And you got to look at the things from the big picture. Like I've said all along, I felt like Reddick was leaving, but I was never a fan of him leaving. You just follow the tea leaves, you see the writing on the wall, you understand what's happening business-wise. Yeah. So, having that money free up along with some other cash made this possible. And it's not a celebration because we got rid of Reddick, but it did help us make this happen. And this is something that needed to happen from the focal point of the Philadelphia Eagles need to lock up this offense, because we haven't had an offense this dynamic in our history that I can remember from top to bottom. You know what I'm saying? I don't remember a time when we had 2 guys who could be considered number 1 receivers. I know we had 2 guys who pushed each other,
amazing,
work together. Man, I'm listening to Smitty's interview, and to kind of swing on Benny Boone's comment here. So Benny says he was on Philly radio today telling the media to stop with the AJ BS. I'm not going to stop. We're not going to stop. You know why they're not going to stop? Because people are going to click on it. People want to hear about it. People want to believe that AJ Brown is a problem in the locker room, that he's a cancer. That's what people want to believe. And there's nothing you're going to tell them to make them stop that belief that's not true. So it's like, whatever, man. Y'all say whatever y'all want about AJ. When he get on the field and he do his thing and he's celebrating with his brother DeVonta and the rest of the team, they're having success, then maybe you'll see. Maybe you'll still say he's a problem. Yeah, whatever you want to do with it.
2-second clip on the sideline of him like yelling or something. That's what they kind of focus on. It's like you're analyzing one tiny piece when it's an emotional game. You look at any team on the sideline, somebody's going to be heated each week. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't mean it's a bad thing either.
Well, man, it doesn't sell when everything's good. But
exactly.
In his interview was talking today about how, man, They're so close, man. They talk every day. He's like, man,
Mhm.
we put our babies on the phone. Let's just let them cool and baby talk each other for like 20, 30 minutes. That's how close these two guys are. And people sit here trying to make a story about there being problems. I mean, that one person's jealous of the other. Why be jealous? You can both eat. We've seen it. There's been times where one ate over the other specific games, but we know AJ is the dog. AJ is the big dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
DeVonta does what he does, and he's very good at it. And DeVonta could
Both
definitely
had
be a number one. But
Yeah, they
AJ is
both
the
had
one that gets,
back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I mean,
yeah.
they
But
both
AJ's
eat.
gonna get more because AJ's a big physical dude.
Yeah,
Body type wise, of the two, he's gonna get more yards because he's gonna be able to fight for more. Do you want DeVonta Smith catching the ball and breaking through tackles and running over people, or do you want him catching the ball, running until he's no longer open and getting out of bounds? I, for one, want the man playing every game that he can play, so I don't want him doing that. I'm fine
exactly.
with AJ doing that because he's big as these dudes are bigger than some of them.
He's bowling guys over to get the extra 5-10 yards.
Yeah. You don't want that from DeVonta, so you're going to get more yards out of AJ because of that. But in the building, we got Philly. What up?
What's up, Philly? Right on time.
So, yeah, man, very excited. I love a lot of what DeVonta was talking about in his press conference.
Same.
He prayed about it. You know, his thing was he went to God, talked to God, prayed, and he felt comfortable with what was offered and making a move with that. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that was very imminent in his conversation today, right? There was a lot of different conversations we had, but I wanted to bring that part of his right now, since we're talking about him getting a contract extension and how, you know, he doesn't really see a lot of pressure on himself because he feels like he just needs to go out there and be the best version of DeVonta Smith.
Yeah.
You know, and that's an important piece, and that's something you're going to hear more than one time. They did also ask him and everyone else about Saquon. I'll tell you later on, you guys stick around to hear what he said, but we'll get into that. So, Wyatt, before we slide into the next thing here, any other questions, any other thoughts, on DeVonta Smith and his contract extension?
No, man, not really. I mean, it's a great signing. We knew it was going to be coming since the end of the season. Did you know how it's one of those moves you don't want to push back as long as possible. You want to take care of this kind of thing early, and that's something that Howie's been able to do. We've seen it for years now, where he's able to get one of these guys taken care of before everybody else starts, raising that money, raising that dollar up even more. I mean, you look at CD, he's going to get paid. Justin Jefferson, he's still got to get paid. Waddle, I think, is just getting paid. So you wanted to get him kind of taken care of before all the other guys start setting the market.
Definitely. It's a smart move, and also it helps ease any possible friction or tension because they're essentially going to be making the same thing, right? They're both making around 25. So you're in the same range. So there's not a lot of like, so I only got 25. You gave him 28. Oh, you gave him 30. I only got 25. So it's smart from that perspective as well. I think they're in different ways. I wouldn't necessarily say completely equal, but equal wide receivers as the number ones in different ways. So having them both and having them on similar deals to the end of their current, or in Smitty's case, new contract, there's the right move to make.
Yeah.
Then Benny says, well, at least we won't be seeing Smitty blocking on a wide receiver screen.
I certainly hope not. Those days should be over.
Those days never been here. I understand what you may be trying to do, but I also understand the player that you're trying to do it with. That was not a good move. That was the opposite of a good look. Everything that's not a good look.
You have dudes that aren't even taking the holes that they're giving him when he is able to block.
Pretty much. So, man, just to go ahead and slide, we also had the Eagles sign tight end CJ Uzomah to the squad. He's a great backup. He's exactly what I've been crying about and whining about that we needed since last season. And ironically, he does have a pre-existing relationship with Dallas Goedert. So they know each other. They're comfortable with each other, and Dallas Goedert was excited to see him come. Something else I learned in Dallas Goedert's press conference today. Dallas Goedert, man, he really loves being an Eagle. He hates that Jack Stoll is gone because that was his guy. But he understands, just like everybody else, the most important word when you're talking about a football team. It's a business. This is not something that some guy just puts together and does, and everybody else says, okay. It's a business. You've got hard caps. You got all this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. Players come, players go.
So Benny says, so I hear about the rumor about trading up with the Bears to the 9 spot.
I didn't. No, that's interesting.
I've heard rumors that we're trading with like 10 teams. No, for real. I've heard rumors that we're trading with pretty much everybody from
that time of the
7
year
to 20 to like 20, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we do move. I don't get I didn't move. I don't see a reason to move because we're doing all these things to basically put ourselves in a situation. And they said this in the press conference too. Howie said this in his press conference. He's going out and he's signing free agents so that we don't have to say we need a linebacker. So even though there's not a linebacker that's worthy of a first round pick, we got to grab one. Let's go out and get free agents so that we can take the best player available at a position of need and not just a position of need and the best guy that's not really worthy of that pick. So
he says he didn't want to reach. And I was like, so what we've been telling him not to do all these years.
I'm not even going to get into that because we only got about an hour and a half. And that's a 45-minute tangent I can go on. We start talking about Jalen Ringer and some of these guys, but I'm not even going to do that today. I'm going to get to y'all one day when we got some time. I'm going to get to y'all. Maybe before the summer, we have a nice talk about some of the follies and the poor draft picks that the Philadelphia Eagles have made. Maybe it's a good conversation. But I think the veteran was needed, the guy who can mentor Dallas Goedert, right? The guy that can say, Dallas, I know you're a little tired, man, you're a little sore. Go ahead and let's knock out this last 5 reps. Go and add 2 more reps, man. Go and add another 45 on each side, and let's bang out 2 or 3 more. Let's just get a little bit more stronger, a little bit more hungry every day. And you need a guy that you know that's a vet, that you respect, and you listen to for that group. Because that group, besides Dallas Goedert and CJ, whoever else is in that room, is going to be a young guy. You need that. You need somebody to tell them, like, yo, we got to get it. We got to do what we got to do. We got to be 1% better every day. Like they always say, got to put that in practice. You know what I'm saying? Part of that is I was doing 445 the last 3 weeks. Time for me to go to 490. You know what I'm saying? That's not a good math because it's only 45. We need to go up 90 pounds.
I understand what you're saying.
535. Yeah, 535. Do a couple more extra reps. You gotta want it, man. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying if you are an Eagles fan, if you're a realistic Eagles fan, you don't have some concerns based on how we finished last year, then you're being unrealistic. You know what I'm saying? Like, tough finish. Very tough finish. But we're not going to sink back into that either. We're not going to do that.
No, we had our time for that.
We exercise that from our psyche. So we're going to try to keep that exercise. And we're going to try to keep moving forward. Shout out to 502 Angel Radio, by the way, while I'm thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? I'll be hearing this. Make sure y'all come on over here. It's live, so I'm going to check us out too. You know, that's youtube.com/@Eagles Elite Podcast. Word up. So before we get into the next few comments or topics, let's go ahead and take us a quick commercial break.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Monday at 3:05 p.m. Eastern, 2:05 p.m. Central. Exclusively. Join Ryan McCarthy
I became a Jets fan because Kurt the Frog was my favorite Muppet because he was green, and the Jets wore green. That's how I became a Jets fan.
and Dustin Henry
ESPN is cashing all in on let's pay a few personalities and we'll just kind of fill in the gaps.
as they walk you through all of the world of sports from their perspective.
The Albany Empire, it's a literal circus.
No credentials required. Where, Ryan, say the tag.
Where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. On YouTube and where you can find all podcasts. Rams fans all around the world.
It's a beautiful thing to be a Rams fan right now. Stafford's back. We will see about Cup. And running back Kerryon Williams to a return.
Lend me your ears, or should I say lend Playmaker your ears, as he breaks down week by week everything in the Los Angeles Rams canon.
Number 99, Aaron Donald. Can't wait for 2029 to come to know that you are going in the Hall of Fame, and it should be first ballot, no questions asked.
Join the Playmaker as he breaks down everything Los Angeles Rams style in Ramily Talk on the Playmakers Blog Network YouTube channel and where you can find podcasts.
All right, good people. So back from the first break, Benny Boom says with the 22nd pick in the 2024 NFL draft, the Eagles select defensive back Cooper DeJean from Iowa. We'll see. The problem I have with picking things now, it's too early. And what happens is guys fall, guys move up even the week of the draft, and then you get these runs that you don't expect. So you've already said there's no way that such and such is going to be here at 22, and then they're sitting there. And such should be there at 22 and they're gone. So that's my thing with like the mock drafts, because you're telling me what every other team is going to do to get their ours. So you'll see how we flip it next week. But basically what we're going to be doing is talking about players that we want, right? We're going to be talking about specific players that we think will be available in certain ranges, instead of saying like, oh, the Eagles are going to pick this guy at this pick, because it's hard to say one guy. We don't know. Trades, all these things can happen to move around what the teams in front of you are anticipating to get. And you have some teams that are petty. They're like, we don't want the Eagles to get such and such player, so we'll grab them.
Yeah.
So you have all those things to look forward to. But I feel you, Benny. Get a DB would not be a bad thing. I mean, I've been saying all along. A lot of people don't feel me. Getting a wide receiver wouldn't be a bad thing. If you can get a young wide receiver first round and then have a deadly trio of wide receivers, and then you control him for 5 years, just like you got Smitty, that would not be a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's other things that we can get, absolutely, but we have done a lot in free agency too. But again, these are all things we're going to get into next week, so I'm not going to get too much into that tonight, because next week is coming. So while we're at it, man, press conferences. So we had the pre-draft press conference from Howie and Nick. So my question to you, Wyatt, what are your thoughts on that press conference with Howie and Nick?
Well, I feel like Nick, it was just kind of same old with Nick. And not really too many questions went his way. I feel like Howie really kind of ran the show of this press conference a lot. He felt like kind of he was in his bag a little bit. He was in good energy, good spirits going into the draft. He did get a little testy whenever they kind of pushed him about the Hassan Reddick trade again. And he was like, well, you don't really know the parameters of this and that, you know. He just kind of it was kind of a no answer that he gave him after the initial one, for saying, oh, it was kind of a win-win scenario. And they kind of pressed a little bit further, and he didn't really like that aspect of it. But he kind of hinted at maybe possibly look at it like not a replacement, because he said you can't replace anybody like a Lane Johnson or a Fletcher Cox or Jason Kelsey. But he kind of possibly hinted at maybe we're going to look into the future of the right tackle position and especially with Lane Johnson, kind of who knows how many years he has left, you know, in the NFL here. He could be on next couple years, could be his last year. He's been in here for a while. So possibly bringing a replacement for him. But he's sold on the young guys, and like you mentioned earlier, he wants to go out and get as much possible as he can in free agency. That way, we can really take care of all the holes that are left through the draft, and not really have to rely on a lot of guys. Like you mentioned, with CJ Uzomah, you needed some veteran presences in the locker room as well for that leadership. So I mean, I could definitely see us taking like a right tackle, which we're gonna get into some of our picks in a little bit. But it seems like he's very focused on the draft, and he kind of didn't want to give away like a lot of his plans, like a lot of people, because like you said, they don't really have any contingencies. They kind of go with the flow of the draft. It seems like he doesn't really game plan like a lot of other teams do. The way he was kind of talking about it in the interview, it's hard to explain. But they kind of have their backup plan if they need to, but they keep their options open as well, because they're not like dead set on a certain guy. Because like you said, some people can fall that they're expecting to go a lot earlier, and then they're very shocked of whoever's available there. Like what was it? He didn't mention him, but I remember like last year or 2 years ago, was it Nakobe Dean or Nolan Smith that like fell way too far? Like people were expecting them to go way like
Nolan Smith fell to the end of the first round to our actual pick. Well, a lot of people had him in the middle of the first round. Yeah,
so, exactly. I mean, he didn't mention that, but
like the third round. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
a lot of people had him.
People were expecting them to go up a little farther than that, but they dropped, and that they were on their draft board. They wanted to take them, but it wasn't really. He was kind of alluding to what they wanted to do without really giving a lot of answers there. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like Howie is in good spirits. He was really like thanking Jeffrey Lurie a lot for wanting to put the dough out there to go out and get some of these big name guys that were on the market in free agency, everything. He kept name dropping Jeff the whole time. I think it was even Rube that kind of brought up his job security. Like he has one of the most secure jobs in the NFL because he's been here since 2010. And he like how he went on a tangent about how he likes to win. And of course, how he's going to say like, oh, if I'm not, putting out a winning product on the field, I don't deserve to be here. But, we all know that Howie's going to do whatever he can to be in this role as long as possible. But I mean, it seemed like he was in good spirits going into the draft, and you know how Howie is. I can easily see us trading up, like Benny and Boom was alluding to. I don't know about to 9th, or trading back, because it seems like Howie doesn't like to stick in one place. He likes taking those deals and finding different ways to either move up or move back, to either get us more capital or maybe possibly a draft night trade of a player. I mean, that's what happened with AJ Brown. I don't know if there's going to be anything as blockbuster trade as like that, but you never know.
Yeah, big thing I took away from the press conference was, and I'm gonna try to explain what Howie's saying. So essentially what Howie's really saying is we know who we want, right? But let's say there's a run on defensive tackles. Let's say all those quarterbacks go in the top 10, like some people are, alluding to, a top 12. That's going to push some other guys that are ranked higher back. So that's going to give you more options at 15 to 25 than you normally would have. It's going to give you guys that you look at and say, man, if I could get this guy, I'd love to have him. But he's projected to be a top 15 pick. But they're going to run of 5 or 6 quarterbacks. That's going to put some guys back. They go on a run of wide receivers. That's going to put some guys back. So there could be a lot better talent than you anticipate. So what they try to do is create a board. So you're picking 22, right? So that means you need to have 22 people on your board. And you rank those 22 people on your board. If a guy goes up that shouldn't be there, you don't change your board. You just say, hey, that gives us the chance to draft the 21st best player we got now too. If 3 or 4 guys are not on your board get drafted, then that means that gives you the option to draft more of the guys that are actually on your board. So he's kind of taking the approach of we know what we will draft if everything goes stock. If the draft goes as expected, this is our guy. But if a guy that we really, really want is there because other positions going to run or guys that we don't really expect to get drafted early to get drafted, we're going to take that guy who we feel like is the best fit for a position of need. And the thing is, we don't know what they consider a position of need at this point. Because truthfully, right tackle for the future, that's a need. But do we have to have it this year? No. We actually don't, because we got guys that are flexible that can play multiple positions. But if you wanted to go out and draft the guy and kind of start grooming him, you could.
Yeah. because that was his big thing he was talking about as well, was the depth of the O line and how we've had that consistency throughout how many years, with Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and everybody else has come and gone.
Yep. And then Benny
Even
says,
mentioned winning the Super Bowl with a backup left tackle.
Benny says, because Howie has to do a lot of butt kissing. Well, Benny,
He does.
I don't know how you feel about Howie, but I'm gonna tell you who kisses the most butt. That is Mr. Nicky Tight Pants himself. That man.
I'm telling Howie, that's a good answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Howie. And like Wyatt said, man, the questions that they ask him is like, the same old answers, just calm down a little bit. And it made a little bit more sense because Howie's kind of sitting there looking at him like, wrap this up, fool. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy.
Nick,
but
he just goes on those tangents too. He gets lost in thought.
He definitely is a guy that doesn't need to be allowed free questions. He needs to be asked specific questions, and then he answers those, and then he can go off, right off into the sunset. But I think when you look at Howie, right? Clear pen, clear vision. He's learned the time he's been there. One of the things about being somewhere so long is you kind of go through the phases where everything's not working the way you want. Then you go through the phases where things look good, and you understand the difference between the two. And I think Howie's there.
Mm-hmm.
Howie is at that point where he's starting to understand, like, all right, the offense has got to be good. The defense has got to be good. I'm the cat magician, so I got to figure out how to make it work, but I got to get the right guys in here.
Yeah, he's been in the league a lot longer than most GMs have, especially in one position. He's really learned a lot from the ups and downs, like you mentioned. So, I mean, he should have a lot of experience to be able to build up a winning team. He's done it before, and he's also had terrible teams.
And keep in mind, he didn't come in as a GM. He was with the organization for years before that.
Yeah.
His first draft as a GM was the draft where we drafted Brandon Graham. That was his first draft as a GM. So I feel encouraged after listening to the interview. I feel like Nick's going to have a little bit of say with the offense and defense, but a lot of it is going to be up to the coordinators themselves. And he'll just be kind of like someone they can bounce things off of if they want to, which they probably wouldn't want to. I wouldn't if I was them.
You do, Nick.
And then he'll be a hype guy and all that.
Yeah.
Now I'll tell you what. He'll be running around like LA Knight. Yeah. That'll be Nick's job.
Yeah. He's just the hype guy from now on.
But yeah, it's a situation where he's got to figure out what he needs to do, Nick, to help the team be successful. And don't screw it up for everybody else. Don't screw the pooch just so somebody can say Nick did it. You tried that last year and that sucked.
Yeah.
So let's never forget that. Let's always remember, not all, but a big part of last year was Nick Sirianni. Because he hired those coordinators. He used that playbook. He did all those things. So let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Now,
another thing like Howie mentioned was how much influence Vic Fangio not only has on this year's draft, but even like the past several of them, because he was been like a kind of a consultant for us for a while. So I mean, his kind of fingerprints and DNA has been all over this defense for the past couple of years. Maybe not last year, but the years prior to that.
Well, even last year, because you got to remember, everyone that we brought in has been a disciple of his tree. So even though the defense itself is changing, the philosophy has been there. Bend but don't break. We've had that there forever. That's been kind of the thing that everybody's been focusing on for a long, long time. So if we could just make sure that we're giving that the best opportunity to be successful, that's all I'm concerned about. Like the philosophy is the philosophy. We can argue if we think that's a good philosophy till we blue in the face. It's the philosophy we're going to use. That's what everybody knows. That's what it is. There's no turning back from it. There's no going back. That's what we got. Hate it or love it. That's what we got. So, a couple of more press conferences happened today. So let's start in at least with the one I saw first, and that is going to be Cam Jergens. So I've been saying all off season, Cam Jergens is going to be your center. And people are like, oh, maybe Lane Johnson. Maybe we'll go draft somebody.
No.
It's going to be Cam Jergens. If you had any doubt, if you listen to his press conference, you know. Basically, Cam, man, he was just talking about how now he has Jason Kelce's old locker.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times the first couple of days, he's went to the wrong locker because he's so used to his locker. So now he doesn't have his locker because he doesn't need his locker. His locker's Tyler's now. Right? Because your locker apparently is based on your position.
Yeah.
So center's here, guards here
as well.
Yeah, Steen's going to be the starter at right tackle. So that's going to be he's got that locker now. So you have your lockers based on that. There's a lot of talk about different things happening with Jason Kelce, his influence, how Jeff Stoutland coaches them. And basically he was saying it's a cooperative effort. He doesn't come in there and say, this is what we're going to do, y'all. He comes in and basically says, what is it that y'all want to do? What is it that you think would be helpful for the team? And then they talk about it, they figure things out together. They make changes from week to week. That's why you saw the line look better. It's not the offense as a whole. Any thoughts on the press conference, Wyatt?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's definitely excited about getting the season underway. I mean, I'm excited just to see him as that starting center because we haven't had one any other than Jason Kelce in so damn long. So I mean, it's of course big shoes to fill, but hopefully he's up to the task. I mean, he was handpicked by Jason, so hopefully with learning behind him for these past couple of years, I believe what was that Nick Sirianni or Howie mentioned that in the press conference as well, is like not a lot of people get to sit a year or two behind like legends at that position, not only for that organization, but in the NFL, like Fletcher Cox or Jason Kelce, where they were talking about like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter behind Fletcher Cox as well. Like it's rare to kind of get that experience without starting, and then you're kind of just pushed into it, and you already know what to expect. You know what to do because you've been learning from the guys that have been doing it the best for the past how many years at that point. So I think he's definitely up to the task. It seems like he's certainly very excited.
Two questions that I really love. Go ahead, man.
Oh no, you're good. I was done.
They asked two specific questions that I love Cam Jergens' answers for. So the first one they asked him, how will things be with him hiking the ball to Jalen Hurts? And he basically said, I know how to hike the ball. As long as I put the ball where Jalen can get it, he'll get it, and the plays will run smooth. And then they also asked him about filling Jason Kelce's shoes. And he basically said, I can't fill Jason Kelce's shoes. I cannot be Jason Kelce. I can only be Cam Jergens, so I'm just going to play center the way that I know how to play best. I'm not going to try to be Jason Kelce. I'm not going to try to do all the things that Jason Kelce does. I'm going to do the things that I can do as a center. So I like the fact that he has a mindset of I'm not trying to compete with the ghost of Jason Kelce. Because whenever you're trying to compete with the ghost of a all-time great, it doesn't work out well. You can ask one LeBron James how that goes. That was petty, but I cannot help it. So you got that. Then we had Jalen Hurts press conference. So this is the first time that they talked to him since, his ex-OC, his ex-quarterback coach wasn't there. So he said that he really feels like he's on the way to being a good coach. It just wasn't his time yet. And then he'll be able to go to another organization. He'll be able to continue to grow and develop. And he will end up being a good head coach in the NFL one day. And we're talking about Brian Johnson. So I liked the way that he was real about it, right? He honestly, he knows that he had a part in that happening, but it was going to happen either way because it wasn't successful. And, he said he had a lot of love for him all his years as a starter in Philly. He helped develop him. So this wasn't something that, it didn't feel like he really had negative things to say about Brian Johnson or negative opinion of him. It just didn't work out. Yeah. But again, this is Jalen Hurts, and PC answers like his thing.
Yeah.
You thought you had, man?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of kind of what like the same that we've heard from Jalen since he's been drafted. The standard is the standard type thing. But I mean, he did have some different insights in there. He was kind of being real just because they were asking about, having once again another offensive coordinator. And he just kind of said, like, this is nothing new to him, especially he likened it back to in his college days where it was pretty much a different OC every single year.
Since high school.
But since high school, yeah. So I mean, he's just saying that he's pretty much like a sponge at this point. He's just soaking everything in. He's learning from his past experiences and growing from them, and also incorporating everything else that he's learning from these new coordinators, and just trying to find some consistency there. But it seems like he's all for it. He's kind of said that Kellen Moore and Nick are still putting the game plan and everything together as of right now, but they just want to keep it simple and do what they keep it simple and do what they can do and kind of make the best out of everybody available there and play to their strengths. But I mean, it's exactly what we've been hearing from Jalen this whole time. We know how much of a hard worker he is, and we know that he's not satisfied, just like us, at how the end of last season ended. So I'm sure he's been working hard. He's been in the lab all summer, all off season here so far. And I'm sure he's not done yet. And I can just fully expect him to come out and be a better version of himself going into this next season.
Yep. So to bounce back to Cam Jergens real quick, they asked him about Saquon. They asked everybody about Saquon. So when they asked Cam Jergens' response to Saquon was essentially, he's excited to have him there. He's on the line. He's excited to block for him. It's definitely a great upgrade. He found out about it on Twitter. Well, ex-former Twitter.
Yeah.
Then we go to Jalen Hurts. I always got two things. The first one, they tried to trip Jalen up. They said, "Oh, I thought you said you like having the same coordinator in the same system." He said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "But it's the NFL." So he said, "The thing is, if you're really bad, they're going to be fired. If you're really good, they're going to move to another team." So he said, "The thing is, either way, unless you're just like in the middle, you're not really good, you're not really bad, and he wants to be great, you're going to lose those coordinators in a year or two anyway." So his point is just simply, I would love to have the same system, same coordinator 4 or 5 years and really dig into it and learn it. But even if I don't, I can absorb different systems. I can learn different ways. I can play differently. Also, they asked him about Saquon. He said, man, he hasn't had too much of an opportunity, but in what he's had, they've had a couple of races. They've pushed each other on squats, because Saquon's a beast on a squat as well. So they pushed each other like squat, deadlift, and stuff like that. They've raced a few times. He said Saquon seems to be a guy that can be a leader on the team, real positive attitude, good understanding of the game, very knowledgeable, good dude. So this could be something.
It's so weird seeing pics of Saquon out there, like OTAs with like Jalen and everybody else. Like, it's so strange to see Saquon on the Eagles now. It's awesome.
Strange to not hate Saquon anymore.
Right. Like, oh, this dude's gonna run all over us. Great.
Yeah, so won't be running over us anymore, so that's a good thing. So then we did also have Brandon Graham press conference. BG's was real solid, man. He talked about how much he's gonna miss Fletch and Jason Kelsey, but how they're both a phone call away. He's very excited about the upcoming season. He's looking at them kind of like, oh man, it's gonna be me next year, right? So same thing with him, man. A lot that he had to unpack in his limited time. Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like he's just soaking it all in. That's why he wanted to come in for, voluntary OTAs and everything. He wants to take every chance he can to soak every little part of this season in, because, this is one last ride. And, he wants to enjoy everything while he can before it's over. But, it's going to be great. I mean, obviously we can't expect him to just go out and be that starter and be that dominant player, every single play. But I think he's going to be a good rotational piece. I mean, he was solid last year and the year before.
Yep. BG understands his role. BG's good with his role. And he's another guy that's there to help the youngsters. That had be a veteran voice in the locker room and also kind of push the youngsters to be better. So I really like that from him. And there was one guy that I also want to talk about that I just remember. I did not put him on the list, but I just remembered. My guy, Nakobe Dean.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he had a press conference today, too.
He was one of the press conferences today. So I'll be quick about Nakobe. I wanted 2 extra things from Nakobe. I'll just tell you what I tell you about Nakobe. So Nakobe, hard worker. He wants to be the best version of himself. He thinks that's what's great. Greatness to him is being the best version of yourself, and getting better and developing and growing. He said he'll be back soon. He wouldn't give a soon date. He said he'll be back soon. He said he's been out of his since February. He's had the surgery to take the metal plate off with his foot. They do believe the first injury caused the second injury, which, we said that even on here. That that's what happened. So he's gotten all that pretty much worked to the place where he should be fine now. And he's just ready to come out this season. They asked him how would he feel if he had to play Will linebacker. He says, linebacker, I don't care. Put your Mike, Will, Sam outside. He's like, it's linebacker. I'm a linebacker. Like, that's what I do. So I like the fact that he's not too like, I got to be this, I got to be that. And then also, they haven't had this talk with Vic Fangio yet, but what he's been doing, and this is something a lot of guys need to learn how to do. He's studying all Vic Fangio's defenses, what the linebackers do in that to learn what expectations he could have for him. He gets with Vic Fangio, he's already understanding the basics of what needs to happen. Everybody doesn't do that.
That way, when he can hit the field, he can just execute at that point.
Yeah, and he's talking like he's going to be ready pretty soon.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Too long before he's going to be ready. So yeah,
hopefully we need him.
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how that works. And of course, we had Dallas Goedert. Another guy they asked because they asked everybody about Saquon, and basically, Dallas Goedert was just like, "Look, man, he's happy that CJ Uzomah's there. He is excited for Saquon because he's going to bring more to the team. He's going to be more aggressive. He's going to be a different level of running back. No one brought up his injuries or anything like that, which I wouldn't expect him to do. I'm just saying nobody did. But Barkley's going to be, if healthy, man. And I mean, I've said this all along. I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend that if this man is healthy, he's not going to be a really good player in the NFL. He has been when healthy. He just hasn't been healthy enough. The concern is health. It's not what he's going to feel his health. But yeah, Goddard's ready to lead that tight end room. He's willing to have CJ Uzomah come in and be somebody that can help him make that locker room better. Smitty is excited that Saquon's there. Brandon Graham's excited he's there. He feels like he could be a leader on the offensive side of the ball. It's all around sounds like they're getting nothing but good vibes from Saquon Barkley. And that's important when you're bringing in a guy of his caliber, if he fits in with the rest of the star players, right? If he fits in, if he's like just naturally a leader and somebody they can look to, like he could be a leader, or if he's just like one of the guys, or if he's kind of like aloof, but no, it seems like he's excited to be there and doing everything he can to fit in naturally. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you need, especially coming off the way this past season ended, where there's tons of rumors about the locker rooms and shambles. Everybody just doesn't seem to get along and hate the coordinators and whatnot, where it seems like everybody's in pretty good spirits. It seems like there's kind of a change in the locker room and in the culture. It seems like it's a better place as of right now than it was a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm. They asked BG about Reddick and about how he felt about some other guys that were left as well. And he just basically was honest with everything. He was just like, look, those guys were here to not. Hate to see them go, but it's a business. I learned a long time ago, this is not a friendship fest or any of that. This is a business. And, sometimes the business side rears its ugly head, but you have to treat this as a business. It's fun. You love to play with certain guys. You want certain guys on the team. You want to have this great team with everybody on it, but it's not necessarily how it works.
Yeah.
So you kind of address that as well, man. Any other thoughts on any of the players' interviews?
No, man. No, I'm good.
I just want to say, man, I liked But they were all open and honest. Even Jalen Hurts got a little less mechanical than he can be at times. So love to see it. Love to just kind of get that energy starting to come from these guys. A lot of big name guys were at optional activities, right? They didn't have to go to these OTAs. These were optional.
Yeah, it's a good sign.
But a lot of guys say, I'm going to get up in here and start working because we have a goal. And then they couldn't start as early as some teams because, they have the same coach. If you have a new coach, you get to start earlier.
Yeah.
But, we didn't want
But it shows you they want to be there. They want to lead. They want to set the standard going into the season. And it seemed like there was a lot of people there just for voluntary OTAs. It's crazy.
Yeah. You can't tell other guys to be there. You can't tell other guys do this or do that. And you're not there. And if you know the big dog's going to be there, you better be there because you don't want to fall behind.
Yeah. Lead by example.
It works out good. Yeah. I don't know any other way, sir. I don't know any other way that they can do it. So, guys, another quick commercial break. Then we'll be back with some more thoughts on the Eagles.
This is Goedert, and you're watching Shady Sports Network. Tune in, hit that like button.
You might wonder, what do these guys do? Player signing announcements. I never in a million years thought you would actually come on to break this news. So without further ado, go ahead and tell everybody what happened today.
Yeah, man. I just had to work out with the Cincinnati Bengals. Finding me right out.
Without further ado, I'd like to announce that, I'll be taking my talents to Salina Liberty.
This just in, the Major League of Football is reportedly collapsing, unable to pay hotel room bills, with players being kicked out of their rooms and hotel managers asking them to leave voluntarily without issue.
Whether it's the men's college game,
The way that this season has been going, anything is possible.
the women's college game,
And how passionate Angel Reese was at that press conference, they got their mojo now.
the WNBA,
AJ Brown Smitty 1 and 2, followed by Brittany Griner, Aaliyah Boston, Jackie Young.
or the NBA.
The Lakers had a 0.8 chance of winning. And then what happened in the fourth quarter? LeBron James by himself outdid the Clippers.
You will get any and all of the information right at your fingertips or your earlobes. Join the Playmaker as he breaks down all things basketball in Shooting Lights Out on the Playmakers blog, network, YouTube channel, and where you can find podcasts. Cool McCain.
You thought you wanted Gunther against Chad Gable, but you didn't. And I'm going to tell you why. Chad Gable would take everything that Gunther's done and bury it.
The Playmaker.
It was on site. AJ Styles walked out there seeing LA like, oh, okay, then LA Knight hopped out the car, let's go.
Break down everything in TNA, AEW, and all of the WWE programming. Join these two kings, monarchs of wrestling, live every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central on the Play Caller Sports Talk YouTube channel.
All right, good people. So we have returned. So came up with a couple of questions that we would love to get you guys answered for as well, for those of you who are watching live. So first question, White. Will Jalen Hurts manage the turnovers and return to MVP form for the 2024 season?
I believe so. I believe bringing in some experienced coordinators here will definitely help settle him down and have some consistency within the offense. You also be able to kind of lean on Saquon Barkley as you need to. I mean, they're paying him good money. It seems like Kellen Moore wants to utilize Saquon Barkley as much as possible and utilize him as one possibly at every down back. Hopefully we don't see Kenny Gainwell very often throughout these games, unless it's in certain situations. But it seems like especially seeing what Kellen Moore's been able to do as an offensive coordinator. He's able to bring some stability to offenses, and he's also able to bring out some of the strengths within these players here. So I think it's definitely a possibility that he's a better possibility than not that Jalen Hurts returns to form. I mean, he was in the MVP conversation through the first half of this last season. We can't forget that. And that was with terrible coordinators, with silly Sirianni and Brian Johnson at the helm. So, I mean, I have high hopes for this offense under Kellen Moore, especially if it's just Kellen Moore game planning and calling the plays, and old silly Sirianni's kind of sticking his, nose out of the business a little bit.
So I say, I think he was in the MVP conversation, but with the turnovers and the recency bias with his games, there were a lot of games that he didn't play well last year. Even a lot of the wins, he just played well at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we'll get more of a consistent Jalen Hurts. And I think that's what's needed. Like, we need him to be consistent. We need to know that whether we're down by 15 or we're up by 15, he's going to have that clutch gene. He's going to make the plays. That he's never going to take his foot off the pedal. That we're going to go out there as long as he's in the game, and he's going to play quarterback. And what I mean when I say play quarterback, I don't care if he has 1,000 yards running. As long as it's in the right flow of the game, like 2 years ago, where a lot of it was broken down plays and not a bunch of called runs, I'm fine with it. But you're not going to have to do as much, because you can be able to turn around and get a ball to Saquon Barkley. All prayers that he stays healthy. You're also going to have a new configuration for the offense. You're going to have a new right tackle. You're going to have a new center. So there could be some growing pains with that.
Yeah. But I mean, I trust Kellen Moore in at least scheming these guys open. That way Jalen doesn't have just one option that he's going to, or the one option that he's looking at each and every play, and then he's running out or throwing the ball away or taking a sack. I believe Kellen Moore will be able to scheme a lot of these guys open where he has multiple options every single play.
I'm going to say I hope that happens, but I want to see it first.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to put too much faith in Kellen Moore. I want to see it first, because there's two Kellen Moores. There's a Kellen Moore I saw in Dallas, and then there's the Kellen Moore that we saw last year. And truthfully speaking, the Kellen Moore that we saw last year, or the Kellen Moore since he's been the Chargers, I like a little bit better. Both of them give me some trepidation, but different weapons, different scheme, different quarterback. We'll see how he plays things. I just hope that they keep Hurts healthy this year. I don't believe he was healthy last year. And I believe that's why we haven't seen him, is because he wasn't healthy and he was taking the time. I don't think he needed like surgery or anything. Maybe he did. I don't know. But I don't think he did. I just think maybe he needed to relax, maybe some therapy and things like that. But he looked like he was hurt all last year, or a good portion of last year, because he had to do too much. So I hope they can limit some of that extra Superman-ness that they're asking out of Jalen Hurts, because we don't want him to break down. We don't want the Cam Newton effect on him. And I'm not saying that in any way, shape, or form to disrespect Cam Newton. I'm saying you can't take a beating but for so long and your body's going to break down. And I feel like that's what happened to Cam Newton as well. And I don't want that for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. And I love the brotherly shove as much as the next person. But I mean, you got Saquon you can use too to get the ball into the end zone if you have to, or get that first down.
You can throw the ball too.
Or throw the ball. You don't have to have Jalen in that dog pile
every
single time.
Every third down play every 3rd and 1 does not have to be the brotherly shove.
Yeah. You don't need to be putting your quarterback underneath the dog pile every 3rd and short.
In your center.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So, like I said, I don't mind using certain things, but I think last year we really depended on the brotherly shove way too much.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I wanted to use it as something when needed, but it's not always needed. Can't always be needed. But this kind of leads into the next question I have. Will AJ Brown and Smitty get the right guy as their 3rd wide receiver this year? Because I feel like Zach Pascal was a good 3 for them. I don't really know if Oz was, because they didn't use him consistently. They spent too much time using the other guy whose name will also remain nameless. His initials are QW, and he is now with a different team, thank goodness. But I feel like they really relied on him too much and never let Oz really be that number 3 that he should have been. And I feel like it would have been a better situation throughout the season had they been a different way. So will they actually let someone be number 3 that can have the skill set to be the number 3?
I think they will. I think it's just a matter of trying to figure out who it is. I mean, you got 2 guys who possibly could be with DeVonta Parker and Paris Campbell. I mean, I've talked about it on the show before. I like Paris Campbell a little more than DeVonta Parker, so I can easily see him possibly winning that matchup if it comes to a competition type thing. But we've been talking about, you've been saying about it more than anybody else. If we go out and draft a wide receiver, like in the first round or second round, what's stopping you from putting him in there? You know, a young, fast guy that can take ball deep, take top off the defense. You know how Nick Sirianni loves his fast guys. They're just putting them in the slot and have them go straight across the field. What's stopping you from doing that as well? And just having that veteran presence as a backup if you need to, like we've had before, like Pascal, Julio Jones, that type of thing. You can have that veteran backup for the wide receivers, just kind of putting them in on different occasions and keeping the young guy in there as a like the starter slot, or if you're moving guys around or something like that, put him at the second spot.
Yeah, I'm not concerned with who it is as long as it's the right person. Give me somebody who can go in and do what we need to do and help this team be successful. I don't care if it's DeVonta Parker. I don't care who it is.
Yeah,
but I do want to have the right guy in there because it makes a big difference when you have guys that you trust. It makes a huge difference. And I feel like that's something that we definitely have to work on this upcoming season.
Yeah.
But I do feel we'll get the right guy. I just don't know who it'll be yet, but I do feel like we'll get the right guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully they find a way to kind of spread the ball around a little bit more, keep the defense honest a little bit, keep them on their toes.
Pretty much. All right, so next question. This is a good one. So, Wyatt, give us 3 guys that you think the Philadelphia Eagles should draft this year.
Okay. No particular order. I didn't really have like any idea like where I wanted these guys to be picked at or anything like this. I kind of alluded to it before, but I'm going with Roger Rosengarten. He's a tackle out of Washington. Specific stat I had here, he allowed 0 sacks and just 8 pass rushes and 232 pass blocking snaps. He has some experience at left tackle, but he's mostly, plays right tackle because he played in Washington. He was I believe their quarterback was Michael Penix, who is left-handed. So he was playing on his blind side there. So, I mean, that could easily be a guy you draft of keep him behind Lane Johnson, as a possible successor here in the next couple of years, similar to Cam Jergens. And 2 other people I have here. One that's also been named a lot in a lot of different mock drafts was Kool-Aid McKinstry. Had him in there. I know people were kind of skeptical off of that injury that he's coming off of, but I mean, once he's able to get healthy, I think he'd bring a lot of depth to our DB room.
And also, man, his name is Kool-Aid. Like, say what you want,
right?
It's a great name.
It's a great. And I even threw. Okay, go ahead, man. Sorry.
It's a great name, man. It's a great name.
And the last one I had here, I specifically threw in for you. I threw a wide receiver in there.
Tyler Guyton, the offensive. I actually didn't put a wide receiver in my 3, but definitely want a wide receiver, but I didn't put it in my 3. So I got Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma. He's getting higher ranks in mock drafts. He's a guy that's probably going to go in the first or second round, the latest, probably first round. But with his new, bump, because you know how they do the last minute, everything you do, anything is just amazing, and now you're just the greatest thing ever. But so I have him. Same thing you were talking about. We need a guy that can play right tackle. Something happens with a left tackle, a versatile guy that can learn. We've got Matt Hennis as well, but doesn't hurt to have another guy that can play multiple offensive tackle positions.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean, the cornerback from Iowa that Benny Boone was talking about earlier.
Okay.
Great combination of size and speed. He can read plays. He anticipates the quarterbacks and the receivers' moves and their connection. Another guy that had a season-ending injury. Don't know if he'll return to full strength or not, but everything that I saw from him before then would lead me to believe that even if it takes a little time, he's going to. And I got to go Homer with the last one. I got to go Howie. You know how Howie likes. He said his thing. He likes to.
He did say that in the press conference. He's biased
to the organization. He said in the press conference. So since Howie said it, there's a good possibility that we're going to draft Jeremiah Trotter Jr., the linebacker. So I'm going to go with him for my third. I definitely got to go offensive line because we need that cornerback. We've got two guys that are older. One seems to be about done. The other one, we don't know how many more years he got to play because he got kids and he want to be able to, play with them. And he want his body to still be good when he leaves and all that foolishness he was talking about that he said last year. So when I hear that type of thing, it doesn't. I don't get upset if you say let's go draft a cornerback. Maybe a guy that's injured, so he may not be on the roster this year, or he may not start on the roster, but he's a stash and play player, kind of like we did Isaiah Rodgers last year. So, And by the way, League, what's taking so long? When we gonna get Isaiah Rodgers back? Stop playing.
Right? What's going on? We should know about this by now. This dude could be at OTAs.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna throw that out there too. But yeah, so those are some of the guys, and I appreciate Y for throwing in the wide receiver. I had some, but I decided to go a different route because
I had a couple edge rushers as well, but I mean we could talk about that next week when we get more in depth with the draft.
Yeah. All right, guys. A couple of more things here. What will be the learning curves for Cam Jergens and Tyler Steen?
Man, I think it's just I mean, we talked about how Cam has kind of grown under Jason Kelce. He's even getting a lot of reps during practice over the past couple of years because, Kelce as a vet, he's not taking every single rep in practice at that point. So he was taking some reps with the ones. I think the biggest is just getting to know the offense and getting to know the players with you on that line that have been here for the past couple of years. Getting to figure out the kind of what makes the tush push, the brotherly shove work, because you're going to be incorporating that through the offense. That's been a staple of the offense past couple of years. We're going to continue to do that. Just because Jason Kelce's gone doesn't mean it stops. So Cam Jergens is going to have to be that dude, get low, get underneath there, let Jalen work. And I'm just to see how he is in the run game. I think it's going to be, because there's, like you said, it's hard to fill in those shoes. You don't want to play like Jason Kelce, but you also got to do your job as well. It's going to be interesting to see how he is on some of these run plays where it's going out to the outside. I remember every single year we would see like highlight plays of Jason Kelce running in stride with a running back down out on the outside. I'm interested to see how Cam Jergens, is able to do that. Like how's he going to play during these run plays to the outsides or up the middle? Is he going to be able to keep up with a running back like Kelce was? I think those are going to be the kind of biggest learning curves for him. With Steen, it's just being a starter in the NFL. I mean, he had very limited opportunities last season to do that. Unfortunately, there was a couple other guys that were called up ahead of him at that time. And then, of course, when he had to, it wasn't in the best circumstances. So I think the biggest leap for Steen is just being in that offense and being a starter and getting to really play next to all these guys. Because I think, from what I understand, he's also the one that's going to be like signaling the center when the play is ready, right?
So they haven't determined that yet. One of the things that Hurts also talked about in the press conference is he's going to be doing more of the audibling, the different coverages, some of the things that Kelce was doing because Kelce's not there. So he'll be doing some more of that as well. So some of that won't be they won't throw all that on Cam Jergens like they did Jason Kelce. So that'll be somewhat of a help because he won't have to be responsible for all that. It normally is your right tackle, but it may be Landon Dickerson on the left side because Dickerson is a former center as well and a little bit more of a veteran, so you may be more comfortable leaning on him for that.
Yeah, because I mean, for those who don't know, a lot of like if you're eagle-eyed, right before the play is about to snap, you could see the right tackle over the past couple of years. It taps the center on the shoulder right when the ball is about to get snapped, when the play is ready to go.
Right.
So I just didn't know if Steen's going to be the one that has to do that. Maybe he has to get accustomed to doing that. But you're right. Maybe it could be Landon Dickerson since he's been in the system here for the past couple of years as a starter.
Yeah, and like I said, he was a center as well, so he kind of understands the cadences and things. So those could be some interesting things that we'll find out by the end of training camp. But I would assume it's going to be Dickerson just because that makes more sense. Just off the top of my head. So we got a couple of more commercials here, Wyatt. After the commercials, I'm going to tell people what I think, and then we'll talk about any other news or rumors that you want to talk about. And then after that, we're going to be out for the evening. So let's get it.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason
Join the transporter to Hades.
Your butt and gut becomes one.
Join the reformer of hooker whores.
This is my daughter, Placenta Booty Johnson.
Join the bronze car.
Whenever you are in distress, take off your baseball cap and throw it in the air.
Join your very own superhero of broadcasting, Chris Bass.
So whatever color crayon they get, they palm it and do 2 circles, and that translates to, I can be the black people.
As he takes you through the week's paces in Baseline. Live every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central, Pacific time zone people, just stay asleep when this is on live and just catch the recording. Oh, I'm sorry. Exclusively on the Chris Bass YouTube channel. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying, but this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
All right, good people. So, let's finish things off, man. I think the learning curve, it depends on the expectations. Straight up. One of the things that it's going to depend on, of course, is, like we were talking about, how much you're going to put on these guys as young players. You don't want to give it to somebody else and then say, oh, we're going to give you this in week 5. So you got to make the decision early on. Are you going to be the one that does the tap? Are you going to be the one we're doing the silent count to do whatever needs to be done? Or are we going to have that be Landon Dickerson? I mean, yeah. Or also, are you going to take a lot of that adjusting the line, adjusting, the blocking schemes away from Jurgens and have Jalen Hurts do that as he'll be able to see the field better while Jurgens is developing and then just run it that way? Either way, it'll be an adjustment and an adaptation. It'll be different for everyone. But I think the learning curve really is going to be probably a quarter of the season. It's probably going to take about 3 or 4 games for those guys to really feel comfortable out there doing what they need to do to help the team, because you're asking them to come in kind of out of nowhere, right? You're asking them to step into situations, and we could talk about like, oh, yeah, Cam Jergens got a lot of snaps at practice, but how many did he get in the game?
Yeah, it's different.
Because like Allen Iverson always says, practice. Talk to me about practice. Not a game, practice. You know what I'm saying? So we did have enough game situations where the configuration that we're going to have this year was out there together. That's not the fault of the players. That is the fault of the coaching staff. Because you knew there was a lot of games that we could not win. And there were opportunities to make those moves and say, you know what, Jason, you've been out here for 3 quarters. We ain't about to win this game. Or we already got this game not locked up. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and make these moves so we can get these guys some experience. And somebody, not to call any names, was saying all last year, why are we not doing that?
You did.
So we're taking the curve and making it more because we didn't give them those time. Let's be real. OTAs, whatever team they're going to have some joint practices with and play in the preseason, they're not even going to really play those guys in the preseason. So a lot of this work is not going to happen until the regular season starts. And that's a slightly tragic, but slightly okay as well, just because straight up simply, you get to work together and you get to do it in real game situations and not these. Because, I mean, the preseason now is practice games.
Yeah.
It's the guys that are fighting to be the three, they're on the fourth line or maybe losing their spot as the third backup to someone else. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to determine that, but that doesn't help the starters, especially when you're going into a year where you're going to have new faces. I hope they play the starters a little bit more than they did last year in the preseason.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I'm thinking it's going to take probably 3 or 4 games before we really see the best versions of these guys that we can. At least from what we can get from them, you know, for this coming season. And then, of course, get better and better as the season goes on, barring any injuries that we don't want. So, Wyatt, man, before we roll up out of here, man, any last thoughts, any other rumors or anything you want to cover? News?
No rumors. Just because I wasn't here last week, just to touch on it, you know, I really like the extensions of Jordan Mailata. You know, he's going to be a staple of this offensive line for foreseeable future. We locked Reed Blankenship down. You know, it seems like he's going to be decent as far as the safety goes for us. It seems like he keeps getting better year after year. So I'm interested to see what he does along with the other safeties. You know, bringing CJ Gardner-Johnson in. Who knows if he's playing safety mainly or if they're moving him around. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this season. I'm super excited for the draft just because every year we think we know what's going to happen. And then they just kind of flip it on us another way. And then it just kind of surprises us in one way or another. So I'm interested in seeing what Howie's cooking up over there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Completely, absolutely. For me, man, only thing I would say is health. You know, when is Nakobe Dean going to be ready? Right? We got some other guys that have been injured. Are they going to be ready? They're not going to be ready. Are we going to do the things that we can to try to prevent as many injuries as possible? Because we need these guys, right? We need the depth.
I was just going to say that.
Way
too many injuries last year.
Yeah, guy gets hurt and goes out, then somebody else has got to take his place. That ruins the depth. Then we got to try to call somebody up from, you know, just a lot of things you have to try to do when you get too many guys hurt. So, you know, hopefully we make good decisions at the players that we keep. Hopefully we'll keep guys as healthy as we can. We got some guys we know are not going to be ready for the beginning of the season. I'm not going to go through all the names, but they should be ready, you know, sometime in training camp or early in the season. So hopefully they're worked back in. I just want us to do a really good job of saying, let's take guys and put them in their best positions to be successful. If that's doing something out of the ordinary, do it. Right? Yeah. Let's play. I want to see the OC and DC get with their sides of the ball and understand their talent. And I do believe Vic Fangio has had a huge hand in the guys that have been brought in, which is customary and makes sense if you're going to be the DC. I'm not going to come in to be your defensive coordinator and I don't have a big say in the personnel and you want me to change, especially when you want me to change the defense to what I run. So shout out for that. I'm excited, man. There's just so much going on. Excited. Hopefully everything works out the way that it needs to and it should. And hey, man, what we always say every week, hashtag fly Eagles fly, hashtag be elite. Hey, make sure you tell 4 of your friends and 4 of your enemies. We're gonna up it. 4 of your friends and 4 of your enemies. Come check us out. Even if they don't like you, they might like us. And it's never where you start, guys. It's always where you finish. We didn't even do the intro today. You know why? We didn't even need to be hyped. We needed to analyze. We got to hit y'all with the outro. We out. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to sub. Don't forget to like. See you next week.